Through the highs and oh, so many lows of Marvel over the last few years, the Punisher is a character that, while being very popular, is often in a weird spot for Marvel. Whether it be them deciding to change one of the most iconic logos in comic book history,
what is that? What is that? What is that?
A decision that thankfully has not been reflected back in the film and television projects, or the 2 seasons of Punisher on Netflix, one season of which was alright and the other was really, really bad. The Punisher is a very difficult character to write if you cannot write with nuance. The highs of the Punisher's character writing can be seen in Season 2 of Daredevil. The incredible debates between Daredevil, a man who refuses to kill, and Punisher, a man who refuses to believe in second chances, show the amazing potential a character like him can provide. Punisher is supposed to be an anti-hero in the truest sense of the word. While his actions may be for the greater good and often even heroic, the things he does should draw questions from the audience members. While I had my concerns over whether Marvel could carry over the deep storytelling of the Netflix characters in Daredevil, I had absolutely no faith that Disney would be able to write an interesting Punisher story. The only saving grace that provided the smallest possible lifeline was that Punisher One Last Kill was being written and produced by Jon Bernthal, a man who not only cares deeply about the character, but also the art of storytelling. I'll go more into detail on the review of this special, but the quick Cliff Notes version of it is that Punisher One Last Kill is a quick action short film that features mostly decent fight scenes with clever stunt work, but ultimately lacks in any meaningful new story for a character that this specific version of has been active for over 10 years. Within this sub 1 hour story, you can absolutely find some entertainment. If you were to look at this in a complete vacuum or wanted a quick 50-minute film to introduce somebody who has never seen Netflix's Punisher to the character, this would sufficiently accomplish that. The plot of Punisher One Last Kill follows Frank Castle after he has just killed the last people connected to the death of his family. Frank is feeling completely lost because his last mission is complete. He is now trying and failing to find a purpose in life without revenge. The final criminals Frank has killed was the Nucci crime family. The Nuccis are featured in the legendary comic storyline Welcome Back Frank. Having killed the rest of her family, Ma Nucci placed a small bounty on Frank's head, and all of Little Sicily is now trying to hunt him down. Now, as a blanket plot summary, that does not sound too bad, but taking a look at what's actually happening and looking back at the character journey makes the flaws pretty clear. Punisher Season 1 began with Frank believing he had finally killed everybody last connected with the death of his family, and he was now trying to find a way to move forward without killing. Frank then learns of more people connected to the death of his family, and he kills, or in the case of Billy, severely wounds them. Season 2 of Punisher then opens with Frank believing he has killed the last people connected to the death of his family, and now he's trying to find a way to move forward without killing or revenge. The problem here being obviously that the character is completely stagnated. His journey resets pretty much every time we pick back up with him. Punisher One Last Kill takes place somewhere around 8 to 10 years following Punisher Season 1, yet the character is in the exact same place he always has been. To go along with that, I personally am pretty tired of seeing Frank depressed and wanting to quit being the Punisher. The underlying sadness, sure, that'll always be there, and the motivation behind his actions will always be the death of his family. But it's long past time for the character to move on. Somehow, the only thing that has seemingly grasped this is the one Punisher scene and the pre-creative overhaul of Daredevil Born Again Season 1. Frank is no longer actively hunting people who killed his family, but is instead going after normal criminals, seemingly. Is this explicitly stated in the scene? No, but it's the impression I personally get. I mean, the stagnation is pretty clear when you look at the fact that they basically did a poor man's version of one of the most famous scenes from Punisher.
No! Baby, come back! No. Wait.
And that is just looking at the plot of Frank Castle's character in a vacuum. That aside, another big failure of the story in this project is the greater world building. First of all, I have a really hard time believing the Nucci crime family has any sort of connection to the death of Frank's family. Daredevil Season 2 and Punisher Season 1 made it pretty clear the plot that ended with the death of Frank's family was a pretty tight plan featuring the Kitchen Irish, a Mexican cartel, the Dogs of Hell, a DA-organized sting operation, and a CIA drug smuggler. Let alone that it would somehow have taken Frank basically 10 years to kill them, considering how fast he dispatched the other criminals. While I think it's fine that the end of a major crime family would cause a gigantic power vacuum, it cannot be overstated how comedically evil the population of Little Sicily is. The only justification for why seemingly 90% of the male population is doing random acts of violence is that there's a small bounty on Frank's head. I mean, Little Sicily is like Gotham in the Arkham games level of evil. Yes, I can believe there would be a power vacuum, but it's not a good enough explanation, nor expanded upon enough to serve as a blanket excuse for the pure evilness. Manucci is just awful. Her involvement in the story feels very shoehorned, and her scene is painfully bad. I mean, the dialogue alone is truly awful.
It was not okay. It would never be okay again.
I'm the one who's doing the punishing now.
You serious?
Yes, they had a crippled woman who is the head of a criminal organization stand in the face of Frank Castle and say, "I am the one doing the punishing now." Her character has no payoff as a story. She is not killed, nor does she get Frank killed. She suddenly just stops being in the special as a whole. Frank absolutely would have already killed her, or immediately killed her once she revealed who she was. I mean, he has a pistol on him, and the only defense she has is one guard with a baseball bat, and potentially some dude on a balcony, which could be arbitrary, but it is shot in a way to make me think that he's with them. I'm not sure. Point is, he definitely would have killed her. So that's where a lot of problems of this special come from, but let's talk more about the action. The first 2/3 of the short is that painfully weak and stagnant story, and the final third is a giant action scene in Frank's apartment and Little Sicily as a whole. I personally really enjoy the action in a bottle by itself. Frank's fighting is very smart and tactical, that of a man who has been in combat most of his adult life, and knows how to fight when his back's against the wall. And not that of the stupid man in the finale of Born Again Season 1 who just walked into stupid circumstances and by the grace of God isn't instantly killed. The action for the most part, with definitely one notable exception.
Ugh. Brother, ugh. What's that?
Looks very real and was done with a lot of practical stunts and good editing. There is never really a point where the editing is so poorly done that you get nauseous while watching the fight. The blood and violence is enough for what you're watching, but not just over the top for the sake of being, oh, we're so edgy and bloody. I would absolutely prefer if the fight scenes all had just been done with instrumental music instead of jazz and heavy metal, but that's more of a nitpick in this as opposed to Daredevil, where it's every single fight scene. And while I can't stand the fact that Frank Castle wants to quit being the Punisher, I am glad he actually embraces his role as Punisher for the third time, but at least he got there again in the end. Despite liking where the character ends up, the final scene of the short does annoy me. Looking back on the nuance of the Punisher, I wish he would kill a criminal who probably didn't deserve it. Let's look at the best Punisher we've got, being the one in Daredevil Season 2. Frank presents Matt with Grotto. Grotto is a man who killed an innocent woman. Frank asks Matt if he thinks a guy who killed an innocent woman can actually be redeemed. Frank fundamentally believes he's had his chance, whereas Matt believes he should pay for the crime in prison, but deserve a chance to try again. It's an argument that really has no correct answer. The writers don't tell you Frank or Matt is right, and instead leave it up to the viewer to decide. Ultimately, Frank does kill Grotto, and the feeling as a viewer is mixed. We have watched Grotto try and do the right thing over the last few episodes, but we also learn about this terrible thing he's done. These are the dilemmas that make the character of Punisher interesting. If the only time we see Punisher kill is when it's objectively a horrible evil person, the interesting aspect is lost. If Punisher only shows up and says, "Hey guys, let's kill Thanos," there is no counter-argument. Obviously, you should kill Thanos. The final scene of this special has the chance to accomplish the same feeling as when Punisher kills Grotto, but the writers of the story took, in my opinion, the easy way out. Instead of having this criminal be, yes, bad, but maybe not pure evil, we only see him 2 times. The first thing he does is beat up a Marine veteran and kill his dog, and the second time he's about to assault an elderly couple. When Frank kills a guy, there is no nuance or debate. The writers had this guy kill a dog, knowing once a character kills a dog, their life in the story is meaningless to the viewer. For example, there are 4 movies where we as an audience root for a man to kill hundreds of people because his dog was killed, which, no complaint from me, I love the John Wick movies. In conclusion, I was passively entertained by this special presentation in the same way I find a TikTok or an Instagram reel entertaining. There is little substance to be found, but the action is fun. Ultimately, the main question this gives me is, why? What is the point of this story? It is called Punisher One Last Kill and does not feature Punisher or his last kill, which that's not a joke. The entire special essentially features Frank Castle running around in his hoodie, killing random henchmen. The only kill that had any sort of weight was the last one of the special, where he's now embracing the Punisher. If anything, that's like his first kill as the new Punisher. If only there was a title that had connections to the character of Punisher that was suitable for a character returning. Welcome back, if you will. But unfortunately, nothing comes to mind. Jokes aside, this project is in no way offensively bad. The mostly practical stunts.
Look at this dude.
Wait till you see the. No, 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 no.
And less reliance on VFX is a nice change for Marvel, and hey, if we can just figure out that pesky storytelling thing, they might be able to make something mostly good, but I'm not exactly going to hold my breath. Leave a like if you enjoyed, consider subscribing, feel free to comment and tell me just how wrong I am, and as always, thanks for watching.